Hello, welcome to Inside the Birds Postgame Live, presented by MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. And listen, I'm going to paraphrase or quote DJ Khaled, because all the Eagles do is win, 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 no matter what. They are 5-0. They beat the Rams 23-14 out there in SoFi Stadium on the West Coast. I'm Geoff Mosher, alongside Inside the Birds co-host Adam Caplan, and joining us as always, former Eagles tight end Clay Harbor, who we've now learned is called the Claymaker in NFL circles. What's up, Claymaker?
Yeah, not a lot, man. I'm excited. 5-0, big win for the Birds. We saw the tight end get the ball, big sacks by Reddick and Carter. It's a beautiful night, ready to celebrate.
Yeah, man. All they do is win. Eagles are picking up where they left off, and it may not be as pretty as it was at times last year, but I don't really think anybody on that team cares or matters. They know that they're 6-0. This was a big win. Obviously, go out on the road, especially after a NFC East game the week before. Let's start with our big picture as we look at this 23-14 win. Adam, I will start with you. Take a step back from the X's and O's. Just tell me what you see out of the Eagles here today and being 5-0.
You got to feel pretty good about how the lines work today. Their offensive line was absolutely dominant pass pro. We can't get the exact time that they gave Hurts to throw the football. I'd have a hard time believing he had more time in any other game than this one. It was incredible how much their offensive line dominated pass pro. That was a great sign. And the D-line got to it when they had to. It definitely did without Fletcher Cox. Let's not forget, that's a big loss.
Yeah.
Estimate his absence today, but their line brought it. The young guys, this is the future of the offensive line, as we talked about in the pregame show. You're seeing it today. They did a very good job. And despite all the way that the Rams moved the football, looked at times like they might put up 24, 27 points. The Rams only put up 14 points. So overall, Geoff, it's a pretty good win, but lots to clean up as usual.
Yep, lot to clean up as usual. But again, when you're 5-0, as Nick Sirianni always says, those correction days after a win are a whole lot better than those correction days after a loss. And when you're 5-0, Clay, right? Correction days are like, okay, we'll get that cleaned up, but we're 5-0. So how are you viewing this win and this start for the Philadelphia Eagles?
You know, I wish I could speak on being 5-0, Geoff, but unfortunately I was never able to do that in my time. But you know, when you're, like you said, when you are 5-0, you look back and obviously you're doing something right. And some people think it might not be as clean as some of the other games were last year, the big numbers, but all that matters is you win. And this team knows how to find a way to win. They're doing it on both sides of the ball. Obviously the defense has had its ups and downs, you know, offense, the pass game has its ups and downs, run game, ups and downs, but overall they always find a way to win the football game, and they got playmakers. Offensive line stepped up against one of the best defenders in NFL history, Aaron Donald. They got specific Aaron Donald rules, and they followed those well. They passed that test. So overall, couldn't be more excited about where this team is headed. I think they had a great game, and it was really good to see my man Dallas Goedert get the tight end the ball, Geoff. Good to see Dallas Goedert make a play here and there, man. So I'm overall trending up for the Eagles.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to joke that my big picture takeaway was that Adam and Clay need to be listened to a little bit more often, because it started at this time last week where you were saying, even after the win, get my man Dallas Goedert the ball. And wouldn't you believe Adam Caplan in the Inside the Birds pregame live show predicted this. He said Dallas Goedert was going to get the ball, and he even chose Goedert to be the player of the game today. So Adam, if you want to go ahead and buy the lotto tickets for us, nice job. But no, I think it was pretty much time for that to happen. And you knew at some point that the Dallas Goedert breakout, it was only a matter of time.
Yeah, he had to get the football. He led them in targets today. Unfortunately, maybe at the expense of Devontae Smith, who had a very quiet game. And as Kevin Burkhardt, the play-by-play voice for Fox with Greg Olsen said, look, they've got these three amazing pass targets. You can't really have all three dominate one game. It's kind of hard to do. Yeah. Not impossible, but kind of hard. And A.J. Brown was huge again. Again, the line was great. And how about that Goedert block on Ernest Jones? That was a phenomenal block. And I'm glad that they re-showed that. That was on that cross block was phenomenal. He stoned that guy for the big swift run. So overall, Goedert obviously had a phenomenal game today. And the body language was better. I know some people have said that when he sometimes isn't getting the football, he could look like he's a little bit more engaged, and that's fine. If it shows on tape, that's legitimate. But fact of the matter is he showed up today in a big way. And by the way, they had over 450 yards of offense, which is very encouraging.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that point up, and please remind me when we go through offense to get back to that Goddard block, because I would like Clay as a former tight end to sort of describe the beauty of it. But if there's one thing that really has stood out to me in these 5 games, and I know the Eagles have been criticized at times because it doesn't look always like the poetry in motion that it did at times last year. But Clay, can you speak to just how I feel like when you're watching an Eagles game lately, especially in the second half, opponents are demoralized by them because it feels like you have to play a perfect game to beat them and you have to do everything right to stop them at times, whether it's the running game or on third down today. The Eagles were very efficient. And you read the body language of opponents who over the last few weeks have tried to stay in the game with the Eagles, and at the end they just cannot do it. Do you sense that? Have you felt that as a player, just the when you're punishing a team, like how demoralizing it is?
Yeah, absolutely. If you got a team that just has trenches like the Eagles do, O line and D line, in this case, let's talk about the offensive line. That you can run or you can pass. They're opening up holes in the run game. 159 yards on the ground today, which was very nice to see, and they're just protecting the heck out of Jalen Hurts in the pass game. It gets demoralizing, and then obviously we've talked about the brotherly shove, the tush push, whatever you want to call it, but that's big. People don't understand how hard it is on third and short and fourth and short in the NFL. They found a cheat code, and hey, everybody can do this thing. For whatever reason, if it's Jalen Hurts with the 600-pound squat, Jason Kelsey, the way they design it, the way they practice it, they found a cheat code, and that matters. The fact that they can get all these third and shorts, these fourth and ones, is huge. That is a very hard play to do in the NFL. In college, maybe you get a few of them, but that is very difficult. So when you have that and you can do that over and over again, it's very demoralizing. He's like, what can I do as a defender? You don't know what you can do to get off the field. You get to third and short, fourth and short, then they just do the brotherly shove. So that actually plays a bigger play than I think some people might think in the game. Most teams can't do that. The Eagles can't.
Yes. I thought Kevin Burkhardt did a brilliant job of basically laying out that anything 3rd and 5 or less for the Eagles is a 2-play opportunity for them to get 5 yards. So that gives them so much optionality on what they want to do on that third down, knowing that they will go for it on fourth down even if they gain just a yard or two on third. And I think that plays into the demoralizing part, is that when you're the opponent against the Eagles, you feel like if you don't get a negative play or a stalemate play on first or second down, you're going to be seeing another set of first downs. And I think that goes into the demoralizing part about it. Burkhardt did a really good job of laying that out. And we have a lot to get into with the offense, defense, and special teams with this game, and then looking ahead real quick. So before we do that, I want to take a second to say that when your money is on the line, you've got to choose a trusted sports book that gives you the tools to win, like MyBookie. At MyBookie, it doesn't matter if your team is up or down. You can easily cash out or bet the game live to come out on the winning side. So use MyBookie for daily odds boosts, same game parlays, and take advantage of huge prize pool contests. Plus, MyBookie has a no strings attached cash bonus that lets you deposit and withdraw quick. All you have to do is use the promo code THEBIRDS, all one word, capitalize it, THEBIRDS, on your first deposit and receive up to $200 in cash. Who doesn't want to receive $200 in cash just for putting in a promo code? In our case, it's promo code THEBIRDS, one word, all caps, to claim your own cash bonus now. Try the MyBookie money bag to grab a potential Super Bowl frontrunner at long shot odds, plus 38,000 on the Eagles and Chiefs. You won't find odds like that anywhere else. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. All right. Well, it was interesting because the way this game was going offensively after the first 2 drives, both teams going back and forth and scoring there, kind of looked like that over-under at 50 was going to be way up. But Adam made a great point, Clay, when we were getting ready for the show. It's almost as if the Eagles especially, but both teams were able to grind out some pretty long drives early on that made it less of a high scoring battle and more of a grind versus grind versus grind. But if you're the Eagles and you're in a grind out battle against pretty much anybody, you feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you're going to be able to beat the Eagles in that matchup. I mean, I know we've talked about it, but when you got the offensive line clicking on all cylinders like they were today, I mean, you're just going to be able to get play after play and do whatever you want. and that zone read, the RPOs you have with the Eagles offense makes it really difficult for them to stop. Then you get Goddard cooking, you get A.J. Brown cooking. DeAndre Swift is not only running the ball, but he's catching the ball out of the backfield. You saw that a lot today with screens and short passes, and he's tough to guard. So I
Right.
think with all those weapons, man, you can go deep, but you can also grind it out and play either style of game that you want. And that's what the Eagles were able to do today. And then the Rams as well. I mean, Matthew Stafford isn't a guy that's going to force anything. Like you said, we joked around about it before the game, before the show. It's like, hey, I've played football with this guy. I played with a lot of quarterbacks, but Stafford is one of the hardest working guys I've ever played with in the film room. He's going to watch film. He's bringing the team in early on Wednesday. He's bringing a bunch of bagels or whatever snack he's got in to bring the guys in. Here's how we're going to attack the guys. So before the coaches even get there, he's staying late. He's there early. He's a guy that just studies the tape and knows what he's going to do. So the fact that they were able to hold him to what they did, I think he hit 21 of 37, 222 yards. Not a great game for him. Obviously, Cooper Kupp, in the first half, I thought was going to maybe break the receiving record. I don't know. But to be able to do that as Stafford when you're down some defensive backs, your slot corner, you're still trying to figure that out, I thought was very impressive.
Adam, if I were, don't cheat. Do you know what the discrepancy in time of possession was for this game?
It was something I think the Eagles had it by 18, 17, something.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that the game is really 23-14 because, like I said, I think that suggests the game being a lot closer than it looks. But yeah, the Eagles held on to the ball for 38 minutes compared to 22 minutes by the Rams. And you know what the key to a lot of those third downs and keeping the chains moving, Adam, is it's something we discussed on Inside the Birds pregame live that we haven't really seen all year, but saw today in that game. And that was Jalen Hurts being a little bit more willing to run with the football in a designed way.
And he was, dynamic carrying the football. His power, their inability to tackle him, his yards after contact. He just looked like he actually looked like a running back today, running the football. This is the best he's looked all season running the football. Don't get carried away with the yards per carry. Actually watch the game and watch him run through tackles. Talk about demoralizing. I'm like, these defenders, they have to be so upset because they had him and he ran right through their hands. And then he also juked him too. He looked really good today. This is 2 really good games in a row. Also, it's his best game running it. And also they were tremendous on third down. I know they're still not as good enough in the red zone. That's still work in progress. They have to execute better there, but their third down efficiency was tremendous today.
Yeah, it's funny because you had mentioned the offensive line and giving Hurts time to throw, and you couldn't think of a really good word to describe it. The writer in me had wrote down in the margin of my notebook that Hurts could make a ham sandwich in the pocket and still have time to pass to A.J. Brown. I mean, A.J. Brown did great. The one-handed catch was phenomenal, but I think if you give most receivers and most quarterbacks a good 5 seconds, and at some point I started counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Clay, that's a layup for guys as good as A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, you can't give them that much time. They're going to get open. The how they play together and the chemistry they've been able to build is incredible. And that's what you see with good quarterbacks. The only way to stop those guys is to get pressure on the quarterback. And when you're giving him all day to throw, and especially with Aaron Donald on the line, that's really impressive. This offensive line, obviously we're scared. You got Suapeta in there, and is he going to be able to hold up? And he did a really good job. I think they all did a really good job of giving him time. And speaking on Hurts' running ability, I was a little worried early in the season. Maybe sometimes I'm like, maybe does he still got that same burst and that speed that he had? And I was wondering, he just doesn't look the same. And then last week he did have that one run, but then today, I think all that doubt was laid to rest. Just seeing the way he ran, and he wasn't pulling as much on zone read. And I think that he really showed that he still has that burst. He's still willing to run the ball when he needs to. And the thing about Jalen Hurts is, a lot of guys say this, but he just wants to win. He really doesn't care about the numbers. He really, if he sees a guy's open, he's going to throw it. If he sees an angle where he can maybe pull the ball and get forward, get a few extra yards, more yards than maybe DeAndre Swift will, or wherever he's running the zone read with, he's going to do it. He really just cares about winning. We got a quarterback like that, it's really hard to stop.
Clay, Jalen Hurts, to your point, had 28 carries through the first 4 games. That's about 7 carries a game, right? And he only had 134 yards. Today alone, 15 carries for 72 yards. I think, and Adam and I and the pregame show panel, we talked about this. It's very clear, at least in our without being there, that there's some sort of initiative or directive, whatever you want to call it, to not try to put Jalen Hurts in as much harm's way as last year. And by the way, when you've got those running backs that they've got now, DeAndre Swift, along with the passing weapons that they have, you can understand if they say we don't need Jalen Hurts to be our running game outside of tush push and occasional carries. And you saw it today. The running game did help. The Jalen Hurts running game helped the offense. He also took some shots today. Yeah. And so I imagine, Adam, they're going to go back and look, and they're going to say, man, there was that one time he got almost horse collared down. There was another time where he's going out of bounds and they got him right before. So they're going to have to kind of go with this week after week. Was it worth it? Was it not? Was it worth it? Was it not?
You have to kind of let him play freely, like be smart, give yourself up. As soon as you get the first down, you kind of know where you are if you can, or where the marker is, or if you have an open Russian lane, go for it. And when we see defenders come, go down, because that's what you like him to do. But before he looked tentative, it seemed like he was giving himself up well before he would just leave yardage there that should have been had. But today, I mean, he was scintillating. I was like, wow, that they had him and they couldn't reel him in. And I think that strong lower body showed up today. But he had a very good game, no doubt about it. They put up over 450 yards. You got to feel that's another thing. You got to feel pretty good about that. But the pass protection not only was the best of the season, I don't know what more they can do. And they handled it when the Rams blitzed. Hurts moved out of the way fine. I mean, I never felt like he was really pressured. I do, though, feel like they left some points on the field. They should have had more than they did.
Well, I mean, clearly the interception that Hurts threw, the underthrown ball to Witherspoon. Now, I don't know if he just underthrew it because he didn't have enough torque on it, or if he was once again trying to back shoulder it in a situation where I don't think he needs to. I think if he just led him to the corner of the end zone, he might have had a touchdown there. But if you put 7 on the board there, right, and give them 30-14, sort of looks like the way this game was. A 16-point road victory is pretty big in the NFL. So it was really that far away from kind of being that way. I agree with you. Left meat on the bone in that regard. Now, we also know this, right? Once Dallas Goedert started that, what do you have, 4 catches for 40-something yards on the first drive, and then A.J. Brown started doing that, we knew that this was not going to be a Devontae Smith game. As you mentioned earlier, you just are not going to have 3 or 4 guys all clicking. If they ever do that, then watch out whoever's on the other side of the line of scrimmage. That's going to be pretty tough. Real quick, we'll finish it off with this on the offense. DeAndre Swift quietly, really nice game, 17 carries, 70 yards. Average 4.1. I thought he had a number of tough runs, and I believe he caught 6 passes for 38. So another 100-yard game. It is it's almost unfathomable now that 5 weeks ago we were talking about this guy having 2 touches in a game, right? I mean, it's kind of crazy how everything that happened since week 1 has changed with DeAndre Swift.
That makes you wonder, man. Is like, what were we watching? And, in camp, we all saw it. We all thought that Swift was going to be a guy that was going to be the primary ball carrier. I was only at camp for 2-3 days. When I came down, like, okay, Swift is probably going to be the guy that's leading the game. But to speak on Dallas Goedert, I got a quick quiz for you guys. I do the color commentary for the Missouri Valley Football Conference, and I was covering Dallas Goedert's alma mater. Do you guys know where that is?
South Dakota State.
South Dakota State.
Yeah, South Dakota State versus Illinois State. But
what's the mascot's name, Clay? I have no idea.
Isn't it like the Jackrabbits?
Yeah. The Jackrabbits, absolutely. Nice. The South Dakota State Jackrabbits.
I just atoned for forgetting where Clay went to school. It was about 5 weeks ago.
Obviously, Dallas Goedert's much more well known than Clay Harbor in Philadelphia. But yeah, the Jackrabbits over there. But Dallas Goedert, watching those Jackrabbits plays, and we're talking earlier, those guys block. He comes up. He's a tight end that does everything, and that's why I talk so highly of Dallas Goedert. Those guys from South Dakota State, they are hard-nosed guys. And Dallas Goedert, we talked about it. He had a couple of those sift blocks, we call them. You come back across the line of scrimmage and you're kicking out defenders. A lot of Travis Kelce ain't going to do that, okay? There's some tight ends out there that ain't going to do that. So the fact that Dallas Goedert is still mixing it up, blocking guys, coming across the motion, doing sift blocks, kicking defenders out, hats off to him. Respect.
There you go. All right. I'm glad you brought that up. Just give us real quick. What kind of acumen that take. You called it a sift block. Some people call it a wham, where you're just coming because you're coming across. So you get your momentum going, but you also have to block a guy who's usually 30 pounds, maybe 20 to 30 pounds bigger than you.
Yeah. A wham is typically when the center or the guard leaves the defensive tackle,
right?
Go and you wham them across, and they kick out the sift. We used to call it the back. Andy Reid's offense, it would be called, like 94 back, 94 zone, 94 back. And I would know that, okay, the back meant that I'm going back across the formation. And you got to look at it, and you got to see a couple of different things. If he's crashing hard, do you spill him? With spill him, you kind of mean you try to block him into the line of scrimmage. If he's not coming that hard, if he's not crashing that hard, you kick him out. So you force him, you keep enough space so maybe the running back can cut right off you. And then if he's crashing really hard, you cut him. The defensive lineman hated that, but I used to do that with DeMarcus Ware's crashing down. Anthony Spencer's crashing down. I used to cut DeMarcus Ware all the time. He would stop even crashing down. He's holding out there. So it's not just exactly what you're gonna have. You got to wait and see. You don't want to give it away. You're going to be looking back, trying to get a peek, but you don't want to give it away. Let them see your eyes. Give away your formation, your alignment if you're too deep, because they know when you're deep, you're going to be coming across the formation. So it takes a lot to know to react that quickly. And the fact that he does that, and then there's guys that just don't like that contact. You're a guy like Dallas Goedert, you're catching footballs. Like I said, Travis Kelce, love him, best tight end in history, in my opinion, but he's not going to do that. He's not going to put his body on the line and take a big collision to create that little extra 2 feet of space so your running back can slip through the hole. Dallas Goedert will.
Awesome. Great stuff. Really good breakdown there. By the way, I haven't heard Anthony Spencer's name in a long time.
Hated blocking that guy, guys. That was probably the guy I hated blocking the most. Hated him. He was the guy, if you attacked him, if you had to sit there and go just basically put your feet up and down in place, because he was so shifty, he was just going to try to cross you over like he was Allen Iverson.
Oh man,
wow. One of those from Purdue. Guys. Where did he go to school?
Yes, I was Purdue. I was in my head. I think he was a Purdue guy.
He was so underrated. Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
On our game today with that.
Nice,
awesome, good stuff. All right, we're going to get into the defense. Eagles defense. I thought that there was an amazing juxtaposition in this game that we have to discuss, and I really just wanted to take the opportunity to use the word juxtaposition there and impress everybody who's watching.
Impressive.
First, I want to tell everybody about our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. Let's also hear a word from our great friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
And if you happen to stop into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Jeff sent you. You will get a great deal. We are back on Inside the Birds Postgame Live, presented by MyBookie. Eagles win 23-14 over the Rams on the West Coast at SoFi Stadium, 5-0. And you got to applaud the defensive effort, holding the Rams to 14 points. I'm going to say in their own house, but it's kind of weird to watch an Eagles road game and hear on the TV every time there's a third down that the crowd is for the home team. The crowd's loud. Everything was opposite because clearly that place was invaded by Philadelphia. So nice job to the Eagle fan. I was all messed up. They're like the Rams fumble on their second possession coming out of the halftime, right? And somehow Nick Morrow doesn't get on it, so they recover it. But the place is going crazy, and I'm like, wow, they're really happy about recovering a fumble. Oh wait, no, that's just Eagles fans being happy that a fumble happened. So we know, Adam, tell me you're not still all these years into it. Sure. It never ceases to amaze me how well Eagles fans travel and then just show up to road games. They take over places.
D. Filippo was on our show last week and he talked about the Charger game. He was just in total awe of it. He could not understand. In fact, actually Sirianni talked about it too. Of course, Flip with the Eagles and Sirianni with the Chargers. Nick, because Nick admitted he was kind of used to it because that year, remember, they were kind of in transition to that stadium. It's a soccer stadium, the StubHub Center. and how the Eagle fans took it over, made it their stadium. This is so incredible. Yeah, but look, Morrow dropped that interception. It was right in his hand.
Unbelievable, man.
Stafford knew it. Stafford knew. He goes,
Stafford goes, yeah, it hit the ground.
I thought he had until they showed the replay. I'm like, oh yeah, it's
yeah.
he just hold on to it. But anyway, but look, to hold them to no points in the second half, that surprised me. In fact, it was 31 points at halftime that was the total, and nobody scored a touchdown in the second half. And the Eagles have to, the one thing is, I know Elliott's been great, he's awesome, but he needs to stop taking field goals. They need to start converting those plays.
Yeah, I believe there was 2 of 5 today in the red zone as far as touchdowns. Now, you can argue that the 5th trip to the red zone at the end there, they were clearly just playing for the field goal because they kind of ran it up the middle on 3rd and 11 inside the 5 with Jalen Hurts. So if you want to say there were actually there were 2 of 6 today in the red zone, so 2 of 5 if you take that way. Either way, you want to be more efficient, and that has been something all year long that has plagued them. Let's talk about this juxtaposition, right? This total changing of the script from beginning to end. I don't think in my lifetime I have ever seen a defense, just throw out different slot receivers like the Eagles were doing on the first slot cornerbacks on the first 2 drives. It's like, oh, Mario Goodrich, you're going to be the first guy. Nope. Eli Ricks, you're going to be the next guy. Nope. Bradley Roby, you're going to be the next guy. I don't really pretend to understand what Sean Desai was thinking there. But I will tell you this. The Eagles go up 20-14 in the 3rd quarter. That means they're starting to pull away, and the Rams were struggling. It's the 3rd possession for the Rams. It's 3rd and long, right? They got a bunch formation to the right. What did we talk about with the Eagles struggling last week on bunch formations? Roby comes up. He communicates something to Slay. They played the switch off perfectly. It was either Slay or Bradbury. They played the switch off perfectly. There was some pressure. Matt Stafford couldn't find his guy. They had to punt. Eagles get the ball back. I thought, Clay, that was so critical. And the guy who was there at the heart of it all was Bradley Roby, who wasn't even the guy who got the first chance to play the slot in the game. But I don't know if you remember that specific 3rd down, but that was really key.
No, I thought they played a good job. I mean, you look at they gave up 100 yards in the second half. They had 3 sacks. Their possessions were literally punt, turnover on downs, end of game. The way this team came out in the second half and just took over this defense was incredible. I mean that's really impressive. And the slot, Bradley Roby, I mean that's very impressive. The way they were able to communicate, they were able to play like they've played before. That's a tough position, especially those switch releases, those motions. You know that those Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, they've looked at this. They're trying to do that for a reason. You have switch releases, you have bunch formations. They're trying to get the ball to the slot receivers. You didn't see in the second half, they couldn't do it. They made some adjustments, and that's how you know a team can make adjustments. Who won halftime? That's what good coaching staffs do. The first half, you come into the game with what you think you know. At halftime, you can make a couple adjustments on the fly when you go in at half. Okay, everybody, we come to the drawing board. The coach breaks everybody down and saying, this is what we're going to do the second half. This is what they're doing to attack us, and this is what we're going to do now. Make sure you're going to see this again. If you're talking defense, they're going to do the bunch formation. Make sure you're up on that. We're going to switch this off. We're not going to – the Eagles won the halftime, and that's one of the biggest things I always look for. After the start of the second half, who won from there? That's a team that makes better adjustments than me. That's a team that had the better coaching because you made the adjustments on the fly. You didn't come in and try to stick to a game plan that didn't work. You're able to beat the team at halftime too.
Adam, how surprised were you to see that sort of, I call it the slot sweepstakes early on, where first it was Mario Goodrich and, he had 4 tough reps. So then they put Eli Ricks in and he had 4 tough reps, and then they put Roby in.
Well, again, they were running heavy 11, and they might have even done some 10 personnel.
They did.
Yeah, which we talked about in the pregame. They probably would do that because they can. They have those 4 receivers plus Higbee's a pretty good tight end. But yeah, and it's not. Look, when you do that, if they're going to go 10, obviously you have double slot. So, and they reduce their receivers, which means they're technically outside of receivers, but they move them in. They shrink them a little bit. If you're watching us on YouTube here, that's what they do. They're masters at it, and they did the best they could. But again, just to give up 14 points is pretty amazing because the way that the Rams are moving the ball in the first half was like, oh wow, this might be a track meet. But then the Eagles would hold. That was the thing that was surprising. Maybe the communication was better. We'll look more into that when the tape is available tomorrow. And and during the week for when Greg and Clay do their show, we'll find out more about it. But for all the issues that the Eagles had with the personnel early in the game, I'm shocked they only give him 14. That's pretty impressive considering the start that the defense got off to.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I mean, considering the start that they got off to, you thought this game was probably going to end. The winner was going to be the one who had the ball in its hands last.
Yeah,
that's how I thought that the game was starting. But obviously, for that back end to get the job done, the front end right without Fletcher Cox had to. There were a couple of runs that you didn't ordinarily see, and then maybe they got caught by surprise because there were maybe like 4 or 5 runs that I was surprised they were able to get some yardage on. In fact, the Rams averaged, it wasn't great, 3.9. Kyron Williams was 4.1, but he did have 53. But in general, I thought the pressure was there. And Jalen Carter played more snaps, looked good. Hassan Reddick, Clay, I noticed that they were clearly trying to get at him in the first half. They were either running plays to his side because they knew he was going to come down, or they were chipping him. I think what they saw last week was that he was back, and they wanted to make sure he was checked.
Yeah, no, he's definitely playing much better with that cast removed from his hand. I mean, he's a different guy, and you saw that today. You saw a glimpse of the old Hassan Reddick today, and that was good to see because I mean, he was up for the Defensive Player of the Year in the first few weeks. You know, I'm watching this tape, it's all 22. I'm like, this guy just doesn't look the same. But you got to realize it's something like people. It's just his hand. Like, why does he need his hand? It matters. Like all that matters. You can't do your pass rush moves. You're a little bit tentative. You don't have your full bag of moves. Your confidence is a little down. His confidence back. His motor's back. Hassan Reddick is back. And they were definitely using some chips. And obviously want to watch the all-22, but doing some things to run the ball his way, to kick out, to chip him, to make sure that he wasn't going to wreck the game. And I think they did a good job of that early. Late, Hassan Reddick caught fire, and he had those 2 big sacks.
Yeah, and obviously today is the type of day where you say really your best defense was your offense, because the defense really didn't have to be on the field a whole lot. And with the depth that they have up front, whenever it was third down, Josh Sweat got a pressure, we just mentioned Reddick at the end of the game came live. Jalen Carter got his pressures. They were able to be pretty fresh because of that.
6 of 13 today. I mean, those are good third down numbers. 6 of 13. You're going to take that as defense, and you're going to say, hey, those are good numbers. You did a good job of getting off the field.
Awesome. And by the way, the Rams only averaged 4.5 yards per play compared to the Eagles, who we said average almost 6 yards per play. So again, it's just that is really my big takeaway, is that you can look at this score and box score scout and say, man, the Eagles went out there and 24-13. It was a closer game. It was again, we've said this a couple of times this year. I never felt like the Eagles were going to lose after the first quarter and they settled in. I never really thought the Eagles were in jeopardy of losing that game. Adam, did you think at any point like, if Eagles don't score here, they're in trouble? Or
here's the thing that was so evident: they out talented the Rams. There's so much more talent than the Rams. It's exactly what I thought coming into the game, that the talent would take over. That's why I picked the Eagles. If you just went position by position, they're better than the Rams at most of them. So they should, at the end of the game, be up and win it. And they did. Now, again, the red zone offense, I'm kind of baffled by why it's so disappointing this season. Thank God they have a kicker who's like one of the best in the National Football League. That's nice, but that's not what you want.
Yeah.
You want field goals. They have to convert better. They will. Look, the great thing is they had 450 yards of total offense. You'll take that any day. And boy, Swift was dynamic. We didn't really talk about him much. He looked phenomenal today. He had a couple back-breaking runs where they thought they had him. But he's shifty. Swift is shifty. Like he got some dirty yards today. That's a coaching term where you run inside and you're going to get hit. You got to be physical through the hole. He did that. That was an impressive game. Well, by the way, how about that big play where it looked like he was caught for loss? Or he made that first down? Was it third down? That one in the first half. It was an amazing play.
I think so. Yeah.
Right through that guy. That was a great play. So the backs did a great job today. Yeah.
Oh, I know you're talking about the little pass dump off. Yeah. And then he bowled over the guy at the
that was an awesome play.
Yeah. That was a very good play. The Eagles are, somebody, I was texting with a friend and he made a point, and Clay, I'll have you comment on this before we kind of wrap it up. We know the Eagles are deep. We know they're talented. They also have I guess like an intangible or a talent that I don't think even other good teams have. And even 2 weeks when they play Miami, you'll notice it. But the Eagles have guys who have incredible play strength. at their position. Jalen Hurts. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks. I don't know how many squat 650, right? He has great play strength. AJ Brown. There's a lot of good wide receivers. I don't know how many of them are as strong and have those hands
physical
that he has, right? Like DeAndre Swift's a little guy, but he runs tough. Kenny Gainwell runs tough. I mean, for their skill position players, as you know, Clay, are kind of labeled as divas and sometimes not wanting that smoke, right? They just want to burn people over the top. But the Eagles have a little extra edge, and I think that goes back to demoralizing opponents because their best players, you talked about Dallas Goedert, they're strong. They have great play strength.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, I'll go back to last year being at training camp. I remember the first time I saw AJ Brown. He's coming out before camp. You know, the players don't have their pads on yet. They walk out the weight room. They all get warmed up at the NovaCare complex in the weight room. And they walk to the field, and I go, "Who's this tight end?" You know, I don't really know this guy. I go, "This new tight end here. This guy looks pretty jacked. You know, probably receiving tight end, but definitely tight." Puts on the jersey. I go, "That's AJ Brown. This guy's huge, man. This guy's a receiver running routes like that, getting open at tight end or receiver." I'm like, man. I was so shocked that was AJ Brown. I was floored. I'm used to playing with Deshaun Jackson back in the day, Jeremy Maclin, good players. And obviously you guys work with Jay. Jay's a good sized guy. He ain't AJ Brown. No. I mean, this guy is big, he's strong, he's fast, and he runs physical. And then Jalen Hurts. I mean, I was a strong tight end. I mean, in 5th all-time NFL Combine history for reps at the NFL Combine for 225. No big deal. No big deal there. But have I ever squatted over 500 pounds? No. I would crumble. I was a tight end blocking defensive end. Your quarterback's doing 650? I don't know. You guys know how absurd that is. Typically, nobody on the team is squatting 600 plus pounds. Nobody. Yeah. They have your quarterback that can do it. Yeah, you're going to run a brotherly shove, quarterback sneak, and nobody's going to stop it. That's like you put any two quarterbacks together in the NFL. I don't think they're doing what Jalen Hurts does. You can get both of them on the side of the bar and have them each pick up 1/2. Jalen Hurts is still squatting more. This matters. Strength matters. What these guys do in the weight room matters, and it's been paying dividends. And a guy like Lane Johnson, he was strong back. I remember he was drafted. It was my second year. This guy comes in, he's tearing up the weight room. Obviously, very impressive. We had Jason Peters, and we drafted Lane Johnson to go to the right tackle. Really strong. He's just as strong as he was, if not stronger. I'm like, Lane, I'm waking up with lower back pain, and I'm like pull my hamstring, not doing it. Lane's still throwing up heavy weight. They're a very strong team. That is a good point. They're just going to be able to physically out muscle people when it comes late in the games.
Absolutely. By the way, on the brotherly shove, my prediction is that thing will get outlawed real quick this offseason. They tabled it. There is no way the rest of the NFL is going to allow this to happen.
Everybody can do it if they want to.
I know. Listen, I'm not saying I agree with it. I know how the NFL is. You guys all know how they think. You guys all know who runs the NFL.
Do it then.
Yeah, I just think that the NFL is going to be like, nah, we let this slide for one more year. We're not letting this go again. We're not letting the Eagles get that nice.
The big thing is player safety. That's the thing that's the number one thing they're going to look into. Hopefully no one will suffer serious injury. The Giants lost 2 guys. Of course, it was their own people, 2 linemen. Right. They tried it last week and it failed for them, but that's something that will get heavy discussion. There's no doubt about it. It's a competition committee thing. And it's what clubs push for. We'll have to see. But overall, look, they won. They are 5-0. The Niners play. We'll see what they do to see if they can stay undefeated. But hey, look, the good thing is they're 5-0, and the offense absolutely left points on the field on Sunday. Lots of improvement to make. They did also some good things. Again, over 450 yards is very impressive.
Yeah.
And Hurts, 2 really good games in a row. His running was dynamic. That was also very positive to see. Swift and Gainwell, particularly Swift, was terrific. Gainwell had a couple of really nice plays. Brown and Goddard dominated. Lots of great stories. And as Clay said, look, it was good to see Reddick, his second safety, second sack, let's call it. He was thrown. I don't know if you've noticed it.
Yeah.
Kyron Williams pushed them back to the kid, the offensive lineman who just came in for Havenstein.
Yeah, get a little boost.
Yeah, and McClendon pushed him right into Stafford. So, I mean, that was
welcome
kind of
to the game.
What
Here's
was worse,
Brock on Reddit.
that or Jalen Hurts running flat into DeAndre Swift and knocking him down on a botched play there.
Yeah.
So one last thing tied up, Adam. There's one more side story for the Eagles that's really good and positive here, and we talked about it on Inside the Birds pregame live. I remember I said to you the Eagles have two objectives today. The first one is to win. What was the second one? You remember that?
Stay healthy. Now, did they report anyone getting hurt in the game?
I didn't see anybody, but I mean, we were able to tell that Maddox got hurt. We were able to tell Cam Jurgens got hurt for a bit. We were able to tell Nakobe Dean. It looks like, and we'll know more in the next 24 to 48 hours. It looks like they came out of this game without losing somebody to short or long-term IR.
Well,
and
barring what when they show up for treatment, as Clay could attest to, we've had this happen where there's nothing reported in the guidance and field when it comes in. But you're right. Right now, it doesn't look like they reported anything during the game, and that's a good thing. And they play the Jets, by the way. They play the Jets next week.
Yep, the Jets next week. A chance to go 6-0, and then the fun begins after that.
Oh,
and the fun will really be the change of the schedule will really start to bring out the best in the Eagles and their opponents. But hey, can't overlook the Jets. They are, I suppose, they have a formidable defense, we'll say. Yeah. And they did beat the Broncos in Denver, so good on them. So it'll add a little intrigue. That's a 4:25 kickoff, I believe, next week. So that means the same for this show. We will start directly after and look forward to breaking it down with both of you guys. All right. I want to thank everybody for watching. And of course, say thank you to all our sponsors, MyBookie, PHL Sports Nation, Sky Motor Cars, our great producer, Jimmy Hyden does a great job, Zach James and everybody. So for Adam Caplan and Clay Harbor, I'm Geoff Mosher. Thanks for watching Inside the Birds Postgame Live.